Hello and welcome to Hindsighting, where we discuss all the movies to win the Best Picture Oscar and try to figure out if this picture truly is the best or is time rendered a different verdict. I'm Edward Clow. My guest today has written film reviews and articles for publications such as Movies Online, Horror Movies Online, and Home Theater Magazine. He's also an accomplished film editor, an avid painter of Bob Ross-style compositions, and he penned the Lifetime classic Psycho Granny. Michael Prince, welcome back to Hindsighting.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
This episode is part of our new mini-series 1981ers, where we examine a single movie from 1981. And today we look at Sharky's Machine, starring and directed by Burt Reynolds. It received 0 Oscars from 0 nominations. So, Prince, why 1981? So, when I was really young and going to my local video store, I would just wander. It wasn't even a very big video store, but I would just wander the aisles and I would just, like you probably did. This is VHS time. I'd pick up a box. I'd look at the back of it. Like if a poster grabbed me, I'd look at the back of the box. And what I noticed, and I've been talking about in other 1981ers, is 1981 was the year of what felt like every movie was made in 1981. I don't know what it was. It just felt like every movie, every franchise had an installment that year. Every great director seemed to have a movie that year. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about directors back in this time. It just seemed like 1981, there was a lot going on. And, as I got older and saw more things as an adult or even a little bit younger, I just kind of realized, wow, 1981 has a lot of great movies. And then as we get into, as I got into learning about the Academy Awards and what was nominated and what won, I look at the 1981 Academy Awards. We did a show on Chariots of Fire, which sort of kicked this miniseries off. Mm-hmm. And, with the exception of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the other Best Picture winners were things I hadn't seen, hadn't heard of. I've now seen 4 of the 5, but they just didn't have anything to do with the 1981 that I grew up with. Now, it's not to say that those aren't bad movies, and we talked all about that in the Chariots episode, which people can go back and listen to if they haven't. But
the 1991 year is going to be very much like that too.
Yeah, well, and my theory about the 80s in general, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, is that I think it's, the first season of this show was me sort of trying to be convinced that the 2000s weren't as bad as I thought they were. And I think I sort of got halfway there. I think from 05, 06 to the end, it really starts to pick up steam. But the 80s is the inverse, is that I think the 80s is an incredible decade. I made a letterbox list where people can look at of just all the movies that I think are great in the 80s. And it's a sliding scale. Some of them are guilty pleasures and some of them are cinematic masterpieces, but it's 234 movies. It's not ranked. It's just I went January to December, 80 to 89, and I threw every movie that I dug, liked, loved, and again, think is a cinematic masterpiece. So that's 234 movies. In the 2000s, it was like 45 for the whole decade. And I think 1981 specifically, there are, by my current count, 19 great movies that got almost no awards consideration, and none of them won Best Picture. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the only one that won Academy Awards, was up for Best Picture, and nobody has to stand for that movie. But we're starting to talk.
Telling people hear the truth that this is a great film.
Yeah, but I do kind of feel that way about 1981 because we talk about 1939, 1976, 1999, everyone's got a different one, but 1981 is never in that conversation. And I think what's great about the 80s and about 1981 is that all these movies that are so great are 99% from major studios. These are major studio movies, and every genre is well served, with the exception of Westerns and musicals, which go in and out of favor, and the 80s is no different than the current day. But you've got great horror movies, you've got incredible comedies, and maybe it's the best era for comedy ever. It's definitely the best era for action adventure ever. You have adult dramas that make money. There's just something for everyone, even retroactively thinking wow, if I was 47 back then, I would feel wow, there's a lot to see. I'd feel very well served. So the last thing I kind of want to say, which will get us into Sharky's Machine, is, the season finale, toward the end of season season 1, we talked about the first year that had 10 nominees, then 2009.
Mhm.
And another thing I'll be talking a lot about throughout the entire life of this show is, do we need more than 5 nominees? Are there years that warrant it? I think 1981 is a year that very much warrants more than 5 nominees. There were only 5 nominees. So I think it sort of depends on the year, but do you have any I mean, I know do you have any relationship to 1981 specifically?
I'm and I kind of got swept, and I'm guilty of this as well. Of the genre. 1982 is the fucking greatest
Yeah.
summer of all time.
But it's that
The
great book.
greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah, 82 was always sort of. I'm just like, well, yeah. And for a sci-fi nerd, like, yeah, I got Blade Runner, Tron, E.T.,
Yeah.
The Thing in the same month. Like
Poltergeist. Yeah.
Star Trek 2. You get that, and it's like, yeah, that's Conan.
Yeah.
That sort of overshadows your 81 sort of in a way.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, no one's really quite talking about it that way. But when you put that way, I'm like, yeah, that sounds really solid. So to answer, I don't have any specific relationship. I don't realize movies were 1981. I thought this was honestly a 70s movie.
We'll get into that. So let's move right into Sharky's Machine. But first, a few stats, very few stats. John Borman was going to direct this, but post went late on Excalibur, so he suggested that Burt Reynolds direct it himself. So that's a really interesting thing to think about. John Borman directed this movie. They worked together, of course, on Deliverance.
Yeah,
And
it was a Deliverance picture.
exactly, yeah, Burt Reynolds production company. The only other stat I have for this is this movie grossed $35 million, but that's the equivalent of $121 million today. So this was a
Oh
big
yeah,
hit. And we should talk very briefly about how Burt Reynolds also in this same year does Cannonball Run, which is, I think, in the top 7 of the year. And then another movie called Paternity, which I know is also a hit. So this really is, he's in 3 movies this year. And this kind of is, I don't know if it's the height of his stardom, but it definitely feels like a bit of a last stop in terms of like him being a major movie star because it
it
starts to
feels like him being king of the world. So I
right.
got
This
it
is
all.
yeah, like I feel like
This is New Year's Eve, right before William H Macy shoots himself.
yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, this is Burt Reynolds, and he had directed 2 or 3 other movies. He made a movie called The End, which is really fascinating. Nothing like this that I could recommend with some reservations. It's definitely worth checking out. It's kind of like a Blake Edwards movie, and I mean that in the highest we covered a
oh,
Blake
I know what
Edwards
a
movie.
big Blake Edwards guy you are. Yeah.
Well, we covered SOB in the what might be the previous episodes of this. So we already have an SOB pod for 1981ers. So let's get right into it. So right from the beginning of this, the vibe I get throughout a lot of this, and I think it's not accidental, is I get at least in the beginning I get a very Clint Eastwood vibe, like Clint Eastwood directed. Reynolds and Eastwood were buddies, and sadly they only made 1 movie together, and it really sucks. It's called City Heat.
City Heat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not good, and it's a shame because they have great chemistry, and those are 2 dudes I would have watched, like, a bunch of movies with, like, them
Yeah.
together because they do have great chemistry. They were good friends, but the impetus for this movie might well have been it's based on a novel by William Deal, um, but when Clint Eastwood did Every Which Way But Loose, um, Burt Reynolds kinda joked, "This is like my movie, you're on my corner. If this is a hit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like a Dirty Harry type movie." And then when he started working on this, Eastwood sent him a note that said, "Oh, you weren't kidding, were you?" So Burt Reynolds referred to this movie as like Dirty Harry Goes to Atlanta. I don't know if that's accurate, but in this opening teaser, it does feel accurate. Like this opening is very what I love about this movie is that it's just not what you think it's going to be. Like
No.
there's so much going on.
At any given moment, you
Yeah,
never know what
I
it's going to be.
yeah, I think this movie is like dressed up as something less than what it is. And that's why I remember the first time I saw this, I like rented it. I was like maybe 13 or 14. So I was like in middle school. I can't remember. It was 7th or 8th
Mhm.
grade. I just vividly remember it was one of those years. So I was like 13 or 14. And I just remember I was like super into Dirty Harry, still am. I was watching all these like 70s cop movies, even shit like McHugh with John Wayne. You
Mhm.
remember that one?
Yes.
Terrible movie, really great Elmer Bernstein score. Not even a terrible movie, just like not a great movie. But I was watching like like all of these, and I think that's how I kind of this is pre you might also like, but my brain was
Yeah,
doing that. So I think I stumbled upon Sharky's Machine that way, and I just remember this opening and I'm being like, "Okay, this is like this dude who's like going by his own rules," and um but but even that's kind of I mean, so this opening, this aerial shot is very
yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
It is. It's also very like we got the helicopter shot. We're paying for the helicopter shot. Like
Yeah.
we're using it.
Yes.
It has that very much that energy because you can tell when we only got the helicopter for an hour.
Yeah, well, it
And
looks like
this
it's
is the best
sunrise.
take.
It's really I think the cinematography in this movie is kind of amazing throughout, and I
I
think
highly agree. I even have a snapshot of a shot that I wanted to talk about when we got to it.
okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And again, I'm not taking anything away. I've never, filmed in a helicopter. Like
Yeah.
we do what we do, and it's like a hugely ambitious shot
Yeah.
that you're in a helicopter. You're starting this wide city,
Yeah.
and you're coming down, and you're finding Sharky as he's
Yeah.
walking,
Yeah, and
and
it's
it's
cool.
dope.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
dope, and what's cool is that, like, I think this place is called, like, the Peachtree Hotel. I think it's still there, but what's interesting about this location is that, like, so much of the movie revolves around it. It's almost like this tower where, like, the villains live, and
yeah,
so him starting with it is not I can only imagine it was the tallest building in Atlanta at the time, and it's very cool looking visually.
yeah,
But what's cool is that, like, this helicopter shot goes all the way it goes literally onto some train tracks, and you see Burt Reynolds walking, and, looks like the sun's coming up, and, I always think of that Chris Rock joke. It's like, if you're somewhere at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning, it ain't positive, and this
yeah,
is, like you just know that, like, you don't know anything about this character really, but it's gonna be something kind of, like, seedy, and, but what's interesting about this opening is that it reminded me almost a little bit of like the scene in the first Lethal Weapon, which I know you just watched last night, where Riggs is at the Christmas tree farm, and then
Mhm.
like it goes sideways. So it isn't like Burt Reynolds being a badass like Dirty Harry. It's like something goes wrong. He's working undercover, and this
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
fucks him up, and he almost gets killed. So like he's very like athletic and like brave, but he's not really a badass like Clint. Like his
yeah.
energy
No, he's he's not
is
quite super cop.
he's
He's
not
like,
quite super cop. I mean, I think his energy throughout this whole movie is its own thing. And so that's why I think when he calls it Dirty Harry Goes to Atlanta, he's almost denigrating it. I mean, I think he said it as a joke. Reynolds was, not really a serious dude. But at least that was his persona. But I think yeah, I mean, what do you think of this whole opening? Everything from the bus going bad to the bus going bad
so,
to the bus. I mean, what are your thoughts?
first, I'm going straight to the opening, the Orion logo. I'm in.
Yes.
I'm like, yes,
Yes.
okay, all
Fuck
right, here
yes.
we go. Helicopter shot. Yeah, we got the thing. Oh, and Street Life kicks in.
Oh my god. This is what I knew it from. So when Tarantino uses it in
Yeah,
Jackie Brown, it's a different version. I was like, it was one of the rare times I knew a Tarantino needle drop before I'd heard it. I was like, oh fuck yeah. Like I know this song.
yeah,
But it's not the same version
um,
though. It's a different person singing it.
yeah. And also, real quick, just if I may go into my sort of history with it,
Please.
just so you know where I'm coming from. I
Yeah.
had a friend. His name was Andrew. We were in the same grade. He had an older brother, Michael, who sort of was my kind of gateway guy into films and stuff. Like he was the guy with the camcorder
Yeah.
who was making the movies and figuring out the special effects on his computer and how to edit and stuff.
Right.
And I was just like, I want to do that too. And like, so we sort of would bond. We're at Andrew's Shore House, and he would also know all the like the fun movies. So Spinal Tap, he introduced us to,
Right.
and then he had Sharky's Machine. I'm like, okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
And in my head, first off, in my head, I had it for years that there was an Elmore Leonard book, or like
Yeah.
Elmore Leonard wrote the screenplay.
It feels yeah, I can see that. Well, Reynolds
Yeah,
does do an Elmore Leonard movie called Stick. I think that's Elmore Leonard,
that's what I'm thinking of. Is
which
the
I think he
thing.
also directed. So I think it's 40 years later. So maybe that's
Yeah,
why.
I think that's why. I think I confused him. But
Yeah,
also,
understandable.
like when I heard Sharky's Machine, I'm like, this dude told me about the Road Warrior. I wonder if this is going to be like a fucking and it's Burt Reynolds. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to be in like a death machine, like mowing down pimps and stuff. While that movie would have also been awesome,
Yes, it would have.
I love what this is. Like, I like the grounded. I know you're saying that Dirty Harry in Atlanta is denigrating it, but it's more like a laid back sort of Atlanta version of a Dirty Harry. So he's not. And the thing is, and we'll get to it obviously as we're going along, but every other character just seems to be yelling
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about this movie, I mean, we're jumping around a tiny bit. It's definitely
Yeah, I'm going to jump around a lot. I
yeah, that's
apologize.
fine. We could jump around a lot. What Sharky's machine refers to, the machine is like the cops he works with. So in a
Yeah,
weird way, I was thinking about it watching it the other day. It's almost like a Mission Impossible movie in that there's a team. Like it's definitely about Sharky, and there's definitely a section of the movie where he's sort of by himself, and he's
yeah,
definitely the hero. There's no two ways about that. But I think where this movie again really kind of distinguished itself, there's actors in this movie who have played cops in other movies. Charles Durning maybe being the best example, and Charles
mhm,
Durning was a great actor, but I feel like the writing here is just so strong without being and because it has like this sort of like action movie look to it or like this gritty look to it, it's like
mhm.
it's just like stealthily, I think, a very interesting and ambitious movie. And that's what always surprised me about it. Because like if you were to see a few like when Sharky goes down to Vice and it
Mhm.
looks like Barney Miller and it's like he's meeting all the cops and stuff, and that stuff's all
Yeah,
fun. If you were like flipping around on cable and you saw that, you could be forgiven for just being like, okay, well, I don't need to see Cannonball Run 4 or whatever the fuck this is gonna be, or you know,
yeah,
but um I want to talk about what happens right after that, which you were talking about helicopter shots, where this movie announces itself. You know, Sharky meets his whole team, his
mhm,
new team, and then it cuts to a shot of that same hotel, and it's this helicopter shot at night, and there's just jazz music going, which is fantastic. And this helicopter
yeah,
shot is pushing in for what feels like a long time, but then you see this elevator rising, and we're like, kind of, it's not like you can't see it clearly. It's clearly, this isn't like Emmanuel Lubezki shot it or anything, but William Fraker was a great DP and did a great job with this. And
oh yeah,
I feel like in that moment, I remember feeling this way when I watched it in the early 90s. I
mhm,
remember feeling like, oh, this is this is something different. This is not Cannonball Run. This is not Hooper. This isn't like this isn't Smokey
yeah,
and the Bandit. Like Burt Reynolds is like really doing something. And again, I'll compare him to Clint Eastwood because I feel like if you watch the Clint Eastwood directed movies right out of the gate, you see like him trying things. You see like him being
yeah.
an actual filmmaker. And I feel like I always just love that scene. What are your thoughts of that sequence? The shot I'm talking about with the night and the I mean, it's just like, what the fuck?
I'm,
This is crazy.
I mean, as the youth likes to say, this flick has vibes, and I'm with it. You
Yeah.
know, I don't even know if I said that right, but I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Um, but no, but like you said, you're just like you're into it, and you're realizing, like, yeah, this is kind of like, I think of Burt Reynolds when I grew up. He's sort of on the downside, and you're like, all right, he's not who he was, and he's kind of a joke, and
Yeah.
he's in the National Enquirer a lot, and
Yeah.
he's Evening Shade, and he has his ups and downs,
Yeah.
and so like I always sort of dismissed his talents as especially as it came to like directing and stuff. So I'm like, and the first time I see this movie, I'm 12, 13,
So close to me.
that
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
I'm growing up not just on like Dirty Harry, but like your Seagal Out for Justice,
Sure.
your Schwarzeneggers or Stallones, like
Yeah.
that's who I'm sort of comparing this to. So
Yeah.
when I'm younger and I see it, I'm just like, well, I see a little bit like it's kind of like a Stallone movie, but it's really slow, so I'm not really paying attention.
Right.
Oh, there could be nudity? No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Damn it. Okay. Whatever. Moving on. So that's my first impression. So now as I'm watching it, I'm just like, I don't remember it being, yeah, so cinematic. I'm like, oh, like Bert's. not that Bert doesn't try. I'm like, oh, Bert's doing a good job. Like,
Mhm.
but also with like the performances, like
Yeah.
he lets that. I'm just gonna get into it. The one shot, it's him and Bernie Casey, and they're like looking while she's playing tennis,
Oh, this the
and
scene's
you see
amazing.
like the reflection of the freeway from the window while Bernie Casey is like going into a monologue, and you're like, Bert's really just letting his actors go, and he's just like really, he's a good actor director, like a good actor's director. I mean, like
Yeah.
you can tell like everyone's comfortable and they're kind of having fun doing it, and you're like, and to tie back into your point about how they're a like a team and stuff, it's just like it's giving you flavor, giving you the spice. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll bring it back again to the Out for Justice thing because I watched that fairly recently, and you can tell that is Seagal. He's done. He doesn't have the juice to direct yet,
Right.
but you can tell he's the one who's just like, I'm going to take this seriously. This is my Godfather. Like I have to do this and this, and you can tell that he's doing that, and you're like, okay, you see that, and everyone else is just like, no, we're here for the paycheck, but
Yeah.
it's pays well, so we're just going to do whatever's cool. But
Yeah.
this, you're just like the actors are all like, oh yeah, they're having fun, and you're not having, you know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think he does get really good performances almost across the board. I want to stick with the scene that you just talked about, the scene with Bernie Casey, because that is something that we don't see in cop movies, where a cop is telling a story about how he almost got killed, and it's real. It's not like he was taking down a cartel. He's responding to a domestic violence call, and a guy
Yeah,
comes in the room as he tells a story with the 357 Magnum,
yeah,
and and that scene feels like it's improvised. Not that he made the whole thing up, but like there's a moment where Burt Reynolds, like one of the few things he says, he's like, "So what happened? What happened?" You know, like they almost talk over each other for a second, and
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
feels very real. But you're right, like Burt Reynolds is the director and the star in this movie, and he just tosses the keys to Bernie Casey for like a, I don't know, 3, 5 minutes. I don't know how long that scene is, and it's really well shot. It's one shot. I mean, I think they cut away to Rachel Ward playing tennis for a second just to establish like what they're looking at.
yeah.
I have a lot of questions about the amenities in her apartment building because they seem to be kind of incredible. Like, but
Yeah,
that's not necessarily a picking nit. But yeah, I think that that scene, that's another moment where this movie is showing, not telling you that like this isn't just another cop movie that you could have gone to the other auditorium in 1981 and seen. This isn't
yeah,
just another one of those movies, and that again is where I feel like a bit of the Eastwood influence, because I think Eastwood long before this was like starting to do that in the movies that he directed, and I think Eastwood was really good at directing himself and sort of examining
yeah.
his own persona, and I think this is one of Burt Reynolds' best performances. Like, I think when the whole Boogie Nights thing was happening, I
Mhm.
wasn't surprised. I was like, "You know what?" I'm like, before I even saw it, I was like, I bet he is good," because I've seen, and Sharky's Machine was sort of what I was basing it on because I hadn't seen Deliverance yet. I've since seen it. But
Yeah.
I think that, and I can't imagine that PTA is not a fan of Sharky's Machine. Um,
Oh yeah.
you know, not that's the kind of thing he might necessarily have made, but yeah. So I want to talk about the section of the movie that we're kind of already in.
Wait, wait,
Okay.
real quick, just to go back to the. I'm sorry to go back to the opening and
No, no, whatever you want.
the gunfight on the like as he's chasing the skag dealer.
Yeah.
Um, the skag dealer fires one shot from his pistol and blows up the engine block of a car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in. This is great. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of canon mayhem in this, if you will. Like
Yeah.
you're like, okay, cool.
That's one of the moments that I feel like is a little bit like, okay, this looks like it's going to be one thing and it isn't. You know,
Yeah.
even though
Well,
I like how he doesn't pull off this act of heroism, like he gets somebody shot,
yeah,
Sharky.
which was hilarious at the time. Like, I was
Yeah.
not expecting that.
Yeah, and the
But
fact
yeah,
that, yeah, it's like, so yeah,
but I even wrote I wrote this says these words like Jack Horner's Dirty Harry.
like that.
Like this is, but that's, but again, like that goes with what we're saying. How he ropes you in with the climax, but you want to stick around for see what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I
um,
said, I have extensive notes.
I have him here too. Yeah,
But
I think he does such a great job casting this movie. I mean, Richard Libertini and Brian Keith, and I already talked about Charles Durney and Bernie Casey. I think might be my favorite supporting performance in this movie. I'm going to talk more about him later when we get later into the movie.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
I
because
know. Yeah, I want to talk. Yeah,
yeah, there's a scene I really
I
want
need
to
to
talk
talk
about with
about
Bernie
that.
Casey, and but the thing, the section about this movie that I really love is when he's just on a stakeout. You know, he's just watching Rachel Ward and it's just him alone. And I love how that's set up. It's like it makes total sense that it's just him. It's like, look, the department is not going to pay for the manpower. He's like, I'll watch
Yeah,
her by myself, 24/7, just me. You know, bring me pizza or whatever. And I love how these guys, you know, it's almost like, do you watch the show Slow Horses?
I haven't yet.
Okay, well, I'll only mention it in this one way. It's with Gary Oldman. It's like they're MI5 and they're in like the reject section of MI5. It's a lot like
Yeah,
Sharky's Machine in that like if you fuck up, you got to go to Vice. You have to go to like the shittiest part, the way they paint it anyway. You're just going to be busting hookers. And I like how they
yeah,
stumble onto this bigger thing. They stumble onto this thing that involves a gubernatorial candidate and it has ties into the department. You know, they don't try to make it a twist that there's people inside the department. The movie just says like, yeah, this police force is fucking bent, and they don't try and make you think like, oh, how could this be? Which is kind of incredible. But I love the I think the other part of this movie, one of the other part, I mean, the next sort of like flex that he does is that it becomes almost like Vertigo or Laura, where it's like this guy, this cop, who
yeah,
we've seen is really tough, and we have a baggage with him because it's Burt Reynolds, and he's either playing an irreverent kind of like laid back cool dude, like Smokey and the Bandit, or he's playing like a badass.
yeah.
And this is again where I thought about Eastwood, but I don't know that. I mean, I think the older Eastwood could have pulled this off, like maybe Unforgiven on, but Burt Reynolds is only about 45 years old here. I think he does this. I think is one of his best performance, if not his best performance. I'm not saying let's hand him an Academy Award, but I do think he's really effective here.
Hmm.
And I love all the stuff of him watching her. I think
Yeah.
it's like we're in a different movie, and that's usually what people say in a negative way. And I think it's I think it's bad luck that Rachel Ward's first movie is the same year as Kathleen Turner's best movie, because I think
Yeah.
that she is such a discovery. This movie was a big hit and she's fantastic in Against All Odds, but boy, does she have a bad haircut in that movie. It wasn't bad then, but she it's a similar kind of discovery because she's obviously very sexy, very beautiful.
Oh
She
yeah.
she
When she
wasn't
turns and smiles, I'm like, what?
yes, he gives her an
Yeah.
introductory shot that is like a movie star shot. Like he is
Yes.
like, look at this woman. This is a movie star. Turns out not to be true, sadly, but we'll get to her soon. But this section of Burt Reynolds watching this woman, and that he's becoming obsessed, but they never push it. I think this movie does montages incredibly well. There's 2 or 3 montages in this that I think are stunning, and I think the first one is where it's just him watching her, and you see he's, like, getting into her, and then it ends with them singing My Funny Valentine together,
Yes.
and it's just done so well because, again, you're like, this is like this street cop. This is a street cop who's, he's got a sense of humor, but like they paint pretty quickly. This is a street cop. He does things on his own. He feels like he's in this part of his job that's beneath him. But that montage where he's watching her, and I think the score is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And again, it's very jazz. And I have a lot
Yeah.
of thoughts.
All the music in this is just spectacular. I'm just
Yes,
like,
I
this is a great choice.
this
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I have one issue with one needle drop, maybe two, but we'll get to it soon. But yes, I agree on the whole. The sound of
Hmm.
this movie is again showing you that like this is different. This is not
Yeah.
like yeah, like Steven Seagal, if this were 10 years later, couldn't be in this. I mean, obviously, maybe that's fish in a barrel, but the only person I could see this working with is if Eastwood would go this way, you could see Eastwood like being able to pull this off. But I don't know that Eastwood
I,
would want
I
to be that vulnerable.
this could have been a Bronson movie.
That's actually a much better analog. So thank you for that. Because I think if Charles Bronson had been in this movie, even like around the same time, maybe 10 years earlier, and because Bronson could, like Burt Reynolds, could act. Like Sean Penn
Yeah,
puts him in The Indian Runner. He's not a big part in it, but like he's very good in that movie. And it's one of the few things he did after becoming super famous that wasn't him, like, being
yeah,
Charles Bronson, like shooting people. So yeah, I think if Charles Bronson were in this movie, the same exact setup, it'd be interesting to see if he could pull that. I'm also was thinking about a modern equivalent, and I hate to make it so Boogie Night centric, but like, what if Wahlberg were in this movie
yeah. You could
today?
easily see that. Yeah,
Because I was trying to think of like who is this now? Like somebody who's in like mainly movies that are kind of like just for money and like, but could, I mean, you and I
yeah,
talked about Mark Wahlberg extensively in our Departed episode and how great he is in that, and that's him playing a cop.
yeah.
So if this was like on Netflix now, and like, oh, this is Mark Wahlberg movie where he's like watching this woman, but if Wahlberg like kind of showed up and like did all this, I think it could be fascinating. I'm actually a little surprised Wahlberg hasn't remade this, but he probably wouldn't want to remake the best part of it,
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying because they were both in Boogie Nights. I'm not like lumping Dirk and Jack together, but I think Wahlberg is a similar flavor to Burt Reynolds, where it's
I'll,
like a
I'll give
bunch of
you a
movies.
crazier version that would kind of be fascinating if they got it the right way to pull it off. Statham.
I had a Statham thought also. Statham actually probably could go there because he is again another one of those guys who
Like a Guy Ritchie's Sharky's Machine with Statham would be kind of awesome,
would be
and like
interesting.
it can be pulled off. But not even that. Like Statham has some different movies where he's just like he's really differently good, and you're like, yeah, all right,
Well, like in The
I'll take
Bank
it.
Job, which is a movie I like of
Yeah,
his, that's not like a Statham movie. I mean, he does not even like a badass in that movie. It's directed by Roger Donaldson, who did like No Way Out, and
yeah, yeah.
so that's a movie where I feel like you know, he's sort of like just part of a good movie as opposed to like a silly thing that's built around him. Yeah, I actually would rather see this with Statham than Wahlberg. I guess he'd have to be like British intelligence or something, but fuck it. Um, but yeah,
No, let him do the the American.
I don't want to hear him do an American accent. I don't think. I mean, Statham's got to sound like
I'm a
Statham.
cop from Georgia.
but I love. I mean, yeah, I wrote down great intro to war, so I had the same thing. But yeah, like I think my favorite section of this movie is him on the stakeout. And I'm not saying I'm not into the movie after that because it goes an interesting place, but that's where I really think, even if you're not into this movie, you
Mhm.
can't say, "Oh, it's just another 70s cop tough guy thing." It's impossible to ignore what
Oh yeah,
Reynolds is
no, it
trying to
becomes
do
like
here.
almost Hitchcockian, and then
Yeah,
you said like Laura Vertigo, you're like, all right, it's becoming something different, and
and it's so
you're seeing a little
unassuming.
bit,
I think that's the thing
yeah,
about this movie that I love and I've always loved. And every time I kind of talk it up to people, you of course had already seen it, but I think like when this podcast comes out, I'm gonna be saying like, no, no, no. I mean, like telling people like, what is this movie? I'm like, I think what's so powerful about this movie, and I love movies like this, and I know there are others, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. I love movies that sort of dress up as less than what they are. I
yeah,
think this is a
oh yeah,
movie. I mean, weirdly, Raiders of the Lost Ark does that. Like Raiders of the Lost Ark is a movie dressed up like a B movie. It's nothing like
hmm
this movie, other than that one way where it's like. But I think because it was Spielberg and George Lucas and Harrison Ford, people's arms are opened, and this movie was a hit. I think it's worth noting that this movie made 121 million dollars in today's money. So this was
yeah,
not
yeah,
like a
yeah.
movie that bombed, and we're trying to be like, hey, it's just so people did line up to see it, which is interesting because he doesn't attempt anything like this again.
Yeah.
I mean, Boogie Nights is its own thing, but it's someone else's movie, and he's terrific in that movie. But I don't know that in the 16 years in between this and Boogie Nights, there's even an attempt to do something like this. I haven't seen every Burt Reynolds movie. There may be there may be something that Tarantino can tell me about. Not that I know him. Yeah, so there's one scene that I really love, um, that really just hammers home. this sort of obsession thing beautifully. But I think he puts a slightly wrong foot down, and I want to see if you agree. So there's a scene which I love where he's watching Domino for I don't know. I feel like he's watching her for like a week or two. It feels like a long time. That
Yeah, that's the thing. You have no idea how long he's doing this. Is it like a few days? Is it a
but
couple weeks?
if you're there 24/7, if it's a week, that's still a long time. Like
Yeah,
I feel like it's a week, maybe two. It's not like months or anything. But there's a scene where the big bad comes, Victor, and they had this. She has this whole scene with Domino, and I
yeah,
really love you know when he says something like, "Oh, does he still think you're a dancer?" And she goes, "I am a dancer." And he goes, "She is a dancer." Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
love how connected Sharky is to all that. And
Yeah,
this is the part I want to see if you bump on this or if I'm being too whatever the word is. So Victor's, and we find this out later, is basically like her pimp. He basically like turned her out at like 12 years old, which is fucking horrible. And the movie does, to its credit, present this as horrible. Like
Oh yeah.
this is about human trafficking, but we weren't using those terms in the early 80s, but it's still what this is about. So basically you see what Sharky can't see, but we see her in the bathroom and she's like in lingerie and she's crying and taking pills and the music is so sad. It's like this really I mean,
Yeah,
again, we're seeing something that the main character doesn't see, and Burt Reynolds is showing it to us, and it's like heartrending. It's awful as it's supposed to be. Then he switches to this music cue. I don't know the song. I think it was original for the movie that I think it just doesn't work. Cause I think the scene is beautifully shot and they're cutting against him listening to her having sex with this guy against her will,
yeah,
which I think Sharky can twig. But I don't know. Like, I guess I'm really bumping on that song. I just don't think it works. And I think almost every other needle drop in this movie is fantastic. I'm not even sure they're needle drops. I think the score to this movie, as you said a little while ago, is terrific. But do you know the
yeah,
song I'm talking about? It's like this song that's like supposed to be romantic, and we're seeing a woman get ostensibly raped. And I think he's
yeah.
portraying it right. And I just think it's a bad needle drop. Did you bump on that, or am I alone on this?
I was probably at that point I didn't quite register it. I was just like a little like,
Okay.
all right, like I did like I didn't like, but her performance when her just like, all right, we'll make it quick, and then she goes like and gets ready for this, and then
Yeah, because the score right before that I think is really great, like the
yeah,
violins or whatever, wherever we're hearing. Anyway, I think that scene of Domino having sex with this person she doesn't want to have sex with is really well done, and I think it's done with kind of a sensitivity. I just think that the
mhm,
needle drop works against it for me. Doesn't sound like you bumped on it that much, so maybe it's just
yeah. No,
um,
my big takeaway, real quick, from the stakeout sequence
yeah.
up to this point,
Mhm.
is that my lungs hurt from how much they were smoking.
Yeah. Well, in any early '80s movie, it's so funny. I've done Blowout, I've done SOB, I've done this. I feel like I have secondhand like smoke. I feel like I have lung cancer now. I mean, like there's
Yeah,
so much smoking indoors, and you and I are of an age where we could remember smoking in restaurants, smoking on airplanes, smoking in movie theaters. Like
yeah.
like you would get a smoking ticket on an airplane, which is so crazy because you're in a steel tube. You're in a steel tube, and it's so
It's like,
everyone's
no, it's
smoking.
okay. They're in the section with the curtain. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, they get like that curtain so yeah, because yeah, Reynolds is definitely crushing a pack every scene. I
Well, I
don't
mean,
even
he even like his directing cut, and I showed you. I said took a snap. Like his directing credit is over him, like, lighting a butt and looking badass
yeah.
with the Zippo. I'm like, fuck yeah, Bert.
Yeah, and it's just
Um,
so funny because like and this goes I mean, we see this into the 80s and 90s. It's like I don't think a guy who's smoking that much could probably run as fast but
no.
that's I mean, you can see something about Martin Riggs. Martin Riggs is definitely smoking a ton
Oh
in
yeah.
in that first movie.
We're about to enter my favorite section of the movie here,
Which is what?
which is Henry Silva's arrival. Not
Mm.
to be I mean, he did have his one introduction where he kills the blind woman from Big Trouble in Little China.
Is that what she's from?
Yes,
I thought she looked familiar because she has blue eyes.
she's Mao Yin, but yeah, she has the green eyes, and
but her
Yeah,
eyes are very unusual. I mean,
yeah,
gorgeous woman, but like, um, right. And the guy that
yeah.
she's with is a cop, which I don't think I ever, I don't think
I
I ever caught that.
I didn't register that. Yeah.
They say, I guess, because I was really, obviously I was taking notes and stuff, but he gets killed, and Charles Durning says like, oh, she was killed with Sergeant so and so, and I
Mhm.
don't know what he was doing there. I mean, he's probably another corrupt cop
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's clearly not busting her. Like he has more than he needs to. Yeah, so Henry Silver, yeah, we see him
yeah.
kill her.
Yeah, we see that part. Then he doesn't come back until he's in the same building as Rachel Ward,
Right,
and he is mainlining cocaine and PCP,
right.
and that's when just like craziness goes to town. You have this insane gunshot door that blows this face off this woman
Her
off.
face is totally gone. It's such great makeup. It's like
Yeah,
it's
like that's some Savini work there. You're like,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, like I feel like this is sort of the biggest and clearest I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know that because I got the Blu-ray. It's not on 4K sadly. Your move,
Yeah, no, I got the Blu-ray. You know what? You
yeah.
don't need 4K. The Blu-ray is fine.
Blu-ray, no, the Blu-ray looks fantastic. I'm just saying, I don't think I've ever seen this on Blu-ray before. I think I saw the DVD or I was watching it like on a tablet or something, or like when I was working out. I've seen this movie a lot, but this
I saw
is
it on VHS, so to see it like this, I'm like, oh, hey, this looks good.
it's a good looking movie, but yes, her face is completely gone and it looks like it probably would look if
Yeah,
you were like a cop or medical examiner and happen upon that.
yeah.
Um
Bert's all like, no, I want realism. No, take a look
yeah,
at that.
I mean, yes, Tom Savini, or I don't know who did the makeup for this, but it is, and they don't linger on, and it's why too. It's Henry Silva's POV, so
Yeah.
it's almost more effective because it's just like you're seeing it how he would see it, and yeah, because the first time I saw it, it was like on like on VHS, and God knows how many times it had been, but yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I wrote down in my notes, her face is gone! Exclamation point! Like,
Yeah.
and
I said,
that ties
Henry
into the
Silva
plot.
coked up murder goes hard.
Yeah. Um, yeah,
And
and I think that's great because the movie changes gears again. You're like, "Oh, he's fallen in love with this woman, and now she's been murdered." And it reminds me a lot. Do you know the film Laura? That's another big, I think.
I don't know that one.
So
No.
Laura is a movie from 1944. It's almost the inverse of this, where a woman is murdered and the cop investigating her basically falls in love with her.
Okay.
Just like learns all about her, and there's a scene where he's like hanging out in her apartment, just like Reynolds does in this movie, and then the woman walks in, just like Rachel Ward does, and that's when he finds out that this woman's actually alive. And in Laura and in Sharky's Machine, both victims were shotgunned in the face. So I don't think it's an accident.
Yeah.
And that's another thing where wow, this movie's like it's like going back even farther than Hitchcock. It's going back like I mean Hitchcock's still around. It's going back to like film noir, like
Yeah.
40s film noir. And I think this movie's very modern, like it's very 1981. But yeah, I think it's another moment in this movie where I was like, "Holy shit. Like she's still alive. Like that's great." You know? And it's
Yeah.
done and they play fair. Like there's the Tiffany's there and she looks enough like her. We don't
Yeah.
ever, like I mean, we don't, we don't spend enough time with Tiffany, but like we know it's completely credible that like Tiffany would like crash at her house and Henry Silva, coked
Oh
up as
yeah.
he is, just needs 2 feet under the door and it's just gonna blast. And that's why her face is gone. It's like a plot thing. It's like, well, here's a woman, her face is gone, must be her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's like a cool twist. I almost wish that they had held the note a little bit longer of Reynolds like being obsessed with this woman, which they hold really well, but then losing her. Like there's like one little bit where they're at the baseball game and he's like, "I'll be at Domino's." Or no, and somebody makes a comment. One of the
Yeah.
guys.
Where do you think he's going?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Yeah, one of the guys makes a comment about that.
I love that they're at the baseball game and all just yelling at each other too. It's just
Well, it
wonderful.
looks like it's batting practice or something. It looks. I don't know where are
Yeah.
they. It's like they're not at an actual game. I feel like it's like my high school was right by where the Dolphins used to train, the Miami Dolphins, and you could
Yeah.
just sit and watch them. I don't know if I don't know if that's a thing then or now. Maybe I feel like they're like watching the Braves either
Practice. Yeah.
or they're at a minor league game, maybe. I don't know. Like they're in like a baseball stadium. They're in like a huge stadium, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think this movie does really well. I remember I've often, I think, talked about the review of Owen Glimmerman's review of Reservoir Dogs, which I read
Mhm.
before I saw the movie. Obviously, I was going to get to Reservoir Dogs at some point, but I got to it pretty early because in Entertainment Weekly, he wrote this review. He doesn't give away, who the undercover cop in Reservoir Dogs is, but he says the scene in which he's preparing his cover story will never let you be fooled that police work is easy. And I feel like Sharky's Machine is another great example of like showing you how hard police work is. Cause there's another great montage where they find one of Henry Silva's drugs
Oh
and they're
yeah, no, this is my favorite thing because it's
okay.
just like it's a coked up montage
No
of
dialogue.
craziness, no dialogue, set to like Doc Severinsen's Salt Peanuts or something. And you're
Yeah.
like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And like you have slow motion, the guy going
Did they
PCP.
slow it down?
Yeah,
Oh,
or
I
like,
didn't notice that.
and there's like it's hilarious and amazing. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Yeah. And
Uh,
also, they're also just like, they're going through like Bernie Casey, like putting a guy's head in the wall, and the guy's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
"What
Well,
the
yeah,
fuck?"
it's
Like
that
it's
montage of just figuring out, like, we gotta knock some doors, get some information.
right, and then it ends with Burt Reynolds just walking up to the to Hotch to Hodgkins, who's like a shoo-in to be governor, and just going domino. And I love
Yeah,
and then they're talking. I mean, this was had to be all done in post because there's dialogue all through this. So they got in the editing room, and the editor and Burt Reynolds decided like, let's bang through this. It doesn't matter what they're saying.
yeah,
Let's just. I mean, it might have been. It was not conceived in the shooting because they wouldn't have been moving their lips. But
yeah,
I kind of like it that they got in the editing room and they're like, let's just get through this. But you're still seeing like process and police work. Cause again, like, cause now there's a coroner and there's a medical examiner and there's like two more guys on the team, but they're only in it for a little bit. But you're seeing it's not Burt Reynolds on his own solving this. It's like a
yeah.
whole team of dudes. It's like, you have like medical professionals, you have like Bernie Casey hitting the street. Um, I love the scene that follows just after where, and this is again where Reynolds tosses the keys to Bernie Casey, where it's Bernie Casey talking to his informant, Kitten. And
Yes, yes.
I love this scene. Let me ask you this. I'm not
I,
saying that I'm not going
I
just
did
along.
not know where that scene was going to end the way it did. And
No.
I was delighted AF
Yeah, like when a ninja
with
is gonna
where
come
it
out
went.
and yeah, kick his ass to death or whatever he says.
Ninjas show up, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like genuine ninjas with like nunchucks, and you're
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
you
But
got my attention.
just before that, there's a scene, and again, Reynolds is like in another part of the bar, and they cut to him just like once or twice, but it's just Bernie Casey, and I don't know the other actor's name. His name is Kitten in the movie,
Yeah,
and I really feel like the young Denzel Washington watched this scene because I feel like Bernie Casey has a lot of Denzel energy where he's just like
yes,
he's really hard and then he throws an arm around. It's like, come on, man, what are we doing? And then he gets really hard and then he throws them. It's like very like, okay, I'm gonna come at you hard, then I'm gonna smile and be your friend, and then I'm gonna throw you off a fucking
yeah.
balcony. Did you get that vibe? I mean, they don't look anything alike, but I just feel like
I
he has
could
a
see what you're
very
saying, what you're
Denzel
going
energy
for.
here.
Yeah, I could definitely see what you're going for with that. That energy, but yeah, again, and it's a credit to Bernie Casey who just kind of kicks some ass.
Yeah, and again,
That
like
he's so good in it, and just doing that.
yeah, he's again like tossed the keys to this movie 2 times, and what's interesting is that his character, you know, they set up that like he doesn't eat fast food and like he admonishes Charles Durning for using a racial epithet,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then like so he's like kind of like and then, he talks all about Zen and that could be so annoying. That could be so like, oh
That
my
was really funny with the Zen, and then, and not to spoil anything, when he goes on about when he's been shot,
yeah.
and he just keeps saying Sharky, and keeps bringing him over
It's
and
hilarious.
saying stuff.
Sharky's like, yeah.
Sharky, and he keeps doing
Yeah.
it.
No, I think he's terrific in this movie, and it's funny because I knew him as Felix Leiter in Never Say Never Again.
Okay.
That's the first thing I saw him in. He's also in Revenge of the Nerds and a lot of stuff, and but
But
yeah,
yeah, I remember Revenge of the Nerds, but my big one with him was I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
yes, yes, but yeah, I think that I mean all the characters are really good, but I feel like Casey gets like kind of the most to do.
Hmm.
It's almost like I feel like you could have like how like in the Apatow movies, every sidekick got their own movie.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Jason Segel got it. I feel like if I were head of like Canon Films or maybe even higher up in the food chain, I'd be like, let's give Bernie Casey his own cop movie. Let's give him his
yeah,
own thing. Like, and I guess that didn't happen. I mean, he worked, he had a good career, but yeah, there's a line I like. So, yes, so when Rachel Ward shows up again, I really love that scene because it's like his response to it is just it's like what the fuck, the dead woman just walked in again. It's done so matter of factly. It's
yeah.
done like she just walks in and she's just like, "Oh, what the hell are
Yeah,
you
doesn't
doing?"
notice the blood on the wall or I mean,
Yeah,
she's got groceries to distract her, but like
right.
the body tracing.
Well, it would take if you think about it, if you walked into your own house, it would probably take you a minute. I mean, I've walked in my own house and like not noticed dog shit and like, you know,
Yeah,
for a few minutes or so I actually didn't bump on that, but I love the line where Burt Reynolds says, this is one of the few exchanges I wrote down. He says, you know, Victor wants you dead. And she says, then I am dead. And then he points to the wall and he goes, no, that's dead. You
yeah.
know, I thought that was a great, great line. And then the
I
movie, good.
real quick, what I really also like about that scene is, in your Hitchcockian Vertigo way, you're just
Yeah.
like, wait, is he imagining this or is this
Oh,
really
you
happening?
totally think he's imagining. That's a great point because the same thing happens in Laura. The same moment happens in Laura
Yeah,
because in Laura the cop is asleep and then the dead woman walks in and wakes him up and you in that movie you really think for a minute like holy shit is he dreaming this in yeah in this movie it's the same thing. You can be forgiven for thinking like oh this is where this is going like Burt Reynolds is like flipped out and is dreaming this or is like imagining her like she's
yeah,
imagine. So yeah, I think that's I think that's at play because it's such a strange moment. I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
Some people could be like, "Oh, she's got to be alive," but because Rachel Ward is not famous even now, I think you could be. I think it actually works. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it's not like it's like Michelle Pfeiffer where you're like, "Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer's not going to die," even if she
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
famous then. Like Michelle Pfeiffer's coming back. Um, so yeah, I think that, and then I think the movie goes, and even another interesting place is where he takes her to his childhood home and
Yes. But here's the one
I have
little
some issues
section
with
I
this.
don't.
I have some issues. You go ahead.
Yeah, this is where we could have cut some things.
Well,
I just Bert's sudden anger and frustration and just outright violence
oh, he
against.
slaps her across the face, which I totally forgot. I was like, I
Yeah,
remember him being rough with her, but then when he just slaps her, I was like, oof. I guess I haven't seen this in a while. I did not remember that.
yeah, I remember that and just being like, oh.
Yeah,
And then like the next scene, they're just sitting there and they're chatting, and he almost kisses her, and you're like, what? Come on, like
I didn't mind that. I think.
I didn't mind that scene after it came from the Burt 180 drama. I'm angry.
Yeah, I don't
I should
quite.
beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, his anger.
It just seems like a very misguided scene in this scene, but it felt like it was his turn to sort of like I have to emote and play huge because he's playing it pretty low
Yeah,
and cool.
I think that one scene doesn't quite work. I think I agree with you because I think what's so effective about him in this movie is that he's playing it so subtle, and because I think this is one of these things when like actors like him direct themselves,
Hmm.
they they don't push it. I think this is why Eastwood's best performances came from Eastwood, the director,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's sort of like, okay, I know exactly what I can do, and I'm not going to push too hard. And I think that's for the most part what's going on with Reynolds here as an actor. Is I think because this movie's ambitious. I mean, it isn't just. I mean, there's a lot of moving
Yeah,
pieces
yeah.
to it, and I think that his own performance is not overdone. But this scene, I agree with you. I I, I feel like the scenes they have later on, like where he's
Hmm.
whittling the rose and stuff, are much more effective because like he's
Yeah.
obsessed with this woman, so I needed a better reason for him to be that angry.
Yeah.
I agree that one
Well,
scene.
that's the thing is, yeah, like I've been with him on this journey, and I believe that he is in love with her at this point.
Yeah,
And why would you want to do that? Like, yeah,
yeah, but I think I mean I think it could be the sort of thing where if he was like sort of slut shaming her for being a prostitute, um, like that's something that could have been explored. But I wrote down I forgot about the near kiss. But one other thing I bumped on, and it's such a small thing, but two things. Well, I didn't remember that JoJo was played by the bad guy in Jaws 2, and because I've seen Jaws 2 3 times this year. I think, and I know he was big on Days of Our Lives. Days of Our Lives fans, sorry for not getting, but so I forgot that he was in this movie. He's right at the beginning,
yeah,
but when he gets killed, he gets run over. I just wrote down there had to be an easier way to kill JoJo.
yeah,
Like that just seems like a very survivable like attempt on your life.
yeah,
Definitely fuck a guy up, break his legs, but like I feel like, you know, shoot
yeah.
him in the head. Small thing. That just felt like one of those scenes where it's like, okay, that moment felt like a 70s cop thriller that's which is what I think this
That
movie is.
felt like Bert throwing a bone to the stunt team.
Yeah, we're probably all buddies of his.
Oh yeah,
One thing I thought was that I always forget about. Well, the one thing about this movie that I think is, I want to get your take on this because you have seen, between the two of us, we've seen every cop movie ever. So I'm gonna land this plane really quick. I promise. So Lethal Weapon is justly famous for a scene in which Mel Gibson's character is tortured by being electrocuted, and that
yeah,
scene's
yeah.
great. Burt Reynolds gets 2 fingers chopped off in this movie, and
By the ninjas.
by the ninjas. But I I think the first time I
Wait,
saw this, I thought they broke his fingers,
yeah,
which would be bad. I wouldn't want to have that happen. But he gets
no,
his fingers chopped off.
yeah.
Is there another cop who's been tortured this badly in a movie? I mean, Lethal Weapon comes close, but Mel Gibson is still in one piece.
Right,
I wouldn't want to
right.
be electrocuted, but like, he still has all 10 fingers and 10 toes when he's done. Like Sharky is not in one piece when this movie is over.
Yeah,
And I can't think of another movie unless it's about that, unless it's about a cop getting shot and he's in a wheelchair or something, like which would
oh
be a
yeah.
different kind of movie. But like
I
I
mean, you
I
could argue RoboCop. No, but
RoboCop, well, yeah, I guess
no,
RoboCop, but
I'm joking. But
well, no, but I guess but that's sort of what it's about though. RoboCop is about a cop who's
yeah,
all
yeah.
but killed and made into but like that's the inciting incident of RoboCop. So I don't think it quite. I'm talking like Lethal Weapon, like the hero. It's the same point of the movie. The hero
Yeah,
has
yeah.
information the bad guy wants. I mean, like Casino Royale's got a famous one, but like
I was
he's
gonna
still
say
in
that.
one
Yeah.
piece. So
Yeah.
it's not like he doesn't lose his testicles at the end of that movie. That would be
Well,
sort of the same thing.
well, yeah, he doesn't because he has a kid, doesn't he?
That's right. But I mean, he's in
Which
the
is funny because that was when Casino Royale came out. Everyone said like that's how James Bond can sleep with all these women and not have any kids. Um, I'm trying to think. There's got to be one I'm thinking of and missing, like a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone one,
or they lose limbs
or actually,
though.
or Bruce Willis, or because of the man, a Shane Black. Like I feel like Last Boy Scout might have something like that.
Where the hero loses a limb though. I'm talking about like
Not like I mean, like a small finger, but I don't. Yeah,
no, I'm
but I can't
talking
think of anything.
he loses 2 fingers and they
Well, Luke
don't
Skywalker gets his hand cut off. No, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, if you want to go that way, Luke Skywalker gets his hand cut off. So yeah, that's I guess that's kosher, but
oh
that's
yeah.
still
Like, aside from just like injured, yeah, you're right. I think everyone's in one piece, and he
everyone's in one
loses
piece and can
fingers.
recover.
Yeah, and continues like he goes on a bus like shortly afterwards, and he's
Yeah,
got like the thing. And
yeah, his hands bandaged. That's why I was confused if he lost the fingers or if they were sewn back on. But I feel like, and in the very last shot of the movie, which we'll get to later, he's got his hand is bandaged up. I mean, I'm almost not sure he could be cleared for duty. I'm not gonna like go that way. I almost feel like, I mean,
yeah,
he'd be like assigned to a desk from then on. I mean, I guess you could be a cop and have seven. You can have
yeah,
7 fingers. I mean, it's not like he does anything where I'm like, oh, you need 10 fingers for that. But yeah, like that is fucking brutal. I mean, it's
yeah,
it's it's he cuts around it pretty good, but like you know he's in the middle of that leg. Those fingers ain't getting sewn back on,
Yeah.
and it's he. I mean, I guess I guess the cop in Reservoir Dogs getting his ear sliced off, but he's not a main character, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Blonde is the main
And he
character.
also winds up dying anyway. So.
Exactly. So, like, he doesn't survive anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you would think I just can't think of one. Maybe we'll think of one later on. Listeners, if you want to like sort of at me and or like shoot me something on Letterbox and tell me what I'm not thinking of, I really would love to know. But you mentioned a little while ago this scene where Bernie Casey gets shot in the climax. I
Yes.
love, and I think it is funny how he kind of won't let Sharky go. I think that's like a great distillation of what this movie is that it's very taut, but they're keeping the
Yes.
humor going. But just before that, that great monologue he has a payoff because he doesn't give Henry Silva anything, and Henry Silva doesn't kill him. You
Yeah.
know, he just lets himself go blank. And I have thought about
He
that
might still be
monologue.
alive. In my head canon, he's alive.
Yeah, does he survive?
Yeah, I feel like he does.
I feel like he does too. It would have been. I mean, I don't need the movie to be any longer, but like, but what's interesting is I've thought about that Bernie Casey monologue a lot, it seems like a weird compare. Obviously, I'm not a police officer. I've never been in a truly life threatening situation, but I remember getting screamed at by a boss like real bad and like in front
Yeah.
of like a lot of people, and I remember thinking about Sharky's machine and thinking like, just don't say anything. Don't just let yourself go blank
Mhm.
and it'll be over faster. Like, don't give this person anything, any hostility. Like, I mean, I really did think about this,
Yeah.
and I don't know that it made a goddamn bit of difference, but I got yelled at for 30 very long seconds instead of what could have been like 10 very long minutes. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a moment. Again, I'm not comparing it to having a gun put in your face, but it was a moment where I was like very, very frightened. And I thought of this,
Hmm.
and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, but it kept me calm. I mean, I literally just like made my face blank, didn't move a muscle, and and it's exactly what I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a practicer of Zen. I don't pretend to be anything like that. But I just again, you know, I think that's just a fascinating thing to hear in an action movie where the cops are always the heroes and
Yeah.
and again, Burt Reynolds is like, yeah, he's tough. He doesn't give up the information, but he loses two fucking fingers. You could
Yeah.
argue that that's heroic because he protects this woman, I guess
Yeah.
they've already had sex, so they're already sort of together. But
The
yeah,
one thing I don't like about that scene
yeah,
is how it kind of shoehorns in Smiley.
yeah.
It's just like, what?
Well,
Like,
does Smiley fuck him up in the beginning on purpose?
well, that's I guess, but it's just like, why are you fucking him up all the time? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I
And
didn't.
like, how are you involved in this case? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like they don't. It's like yeah, they pretty much establish in the beginning that the police department is corrupt, which I like, but I think they are. That's a bit of that moment's a bit of a dud because you don't need it.
Yeah.
You could have had Henry Silver or Victor on that boat. You didn't. But I guess they were trying to say that like, okay, well, the cops are looking for this woman also. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it's fine. But I don't know if you. Some people might not remember Smiley because you only see him in the beginning. Is
Well,
maybe
that's the thing. And you bring him back and you're like, do you expect me to remember him? Like, what's
yeah,
going on?
that could have been done a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But I really do love how sort of taut it is when they're just like skulking around this building looking for Henry Silva.
Yeah. It's well done. Like,
Yeah, because that's usually like in some like factory, that like makes like
yeah, like where's the
sparks.
sparks? Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, like Cobra. You and I are big fans of Cobra, but like Cobra's sort of like but there's like it's always in a factory or like a mill
I,
or something.
but yeah, but it's cool. You're in this kind of like office or like the
It's the hotel.
hotel.
It's the same
Yeah,
hotel we
yeah,
saw in the opening shot and that we saw in that helicopter shot at night. That's what I'm saying. He really
yeah,
ties. I mean, he really sort of like ties this as like the villain's lair, and he also goes to that same hotel to roust Victor when he's with all the girls.
yeah, yeah,
So like he uses this place a lot. I mean, I don't know that I get the geography of Atlanta, but I also know Atlanta's a big city. But he
yeah,
is using this landmark, I think, pretty well. Like he's
Yeah.
using every
Well,
bit of the animal.
he's making like an LA crime movie, but he wants to give it the flavor of Atlanta, and he's doing what he has.
Yeah,
I got the tall building,
yeah, and I think
which does pay off for an amazing end shot.
yeah. Well, I want to
Two
talk.
amazing end
Well, I
shots.
want to talk about that because I feel like we're getting kind of close to the end here of Sharky's Machine. Um, yeah, so it's really taut, and Papa gets killed, and we've already talked a lot about Bernie Casey getting shot, and then
Oh, I love the pop or when I love the bad guy, Victor gets killed by Silva,
right before Sharky
and
even gets to him.
and I love that Sharky's there, and he's so angry he punches the corpse.
He's like beating it
That's
up, and you hear Bernie because of Sharky, he's dead.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I like
Also,
that too
Henry
because
Silva's silencer seems useless because
oh
of the
my
sound
god,
effects.
it's
But
so
apparently, that's what they're like in real life.
well. Yeah, he has a silencer on his gun, and it doesn't work. That said, I love the sound the gun makes anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I won't try and
Oh, yeah,
scat it because that's like not a gunshot I've heard in any other movie.
yeah,
It's interesting. You see, not that I'm a gun nut, but you do see in the beginning of this movie, he's got like a Magnum, and you talked about the Magnum blowing up the car. But then the rest of
yeah,
the movie, he's got a 45 automatic, and you start to see the cops in these movies start to carry automatics, and we're headed toward the
yeah,
Beretta with Mel Gibson and Bruce Willis using those. So it's like you do see
yeah,
80s, 70s into 80s is like going from like revolvers to semi-automatic weapons. I mean, this is
yeah,
the movie you see it happen because Sharky, when he's undercover, he's got like this fucking Magnum, and then the
yeah,
rest of the movie, he's got they all have like 45s,
yeah.
like a
Um, Real quick, I'm sorry to keep giving you shit to cut back to and go back and
no, no,
forth,
no, it's
but the lake house or the lake boat, the boat in the lake,
yeah,
I love. There's like two moments in it where like they build suspense to something and then they immediately deflate it. Like you see him trying to reach for his gun, and then the cops just like, "I already took your gun
yeah,
like an hour ago.
yeah,
What are you doing?"
yeah,
And like the music's like,
yeah,
it's like a really funny comic beat, and you're
yeah.
like, "I appreciate that. That's
Well, the
good."
bad guys
And
are
there's like
smart.
another thing that happens like right there. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I like the Asian music that plays when he kills the second ninja with the spear gun.
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah. Let's talk about the
Um,
very end. Sorry, I
but
didn't mean to
yes,
cut
let's
you.
talk about the end. Yeah, yeah, good.
Okay, so he catches up with Henry Silva, and he's in silhouette. It's actually a really cool shot. And Henry Silva's, he's like wheezing, he's like leaking blood,
Yeah,
and he's about to kill himself, and Sharky shoots him through the window, and that is a hell of a fall.
and an amazing fall, and
Yeah.
you can tell it was a dude.
Yeah, it
His
doesn't look like
arms
a
are
dummy.
waving. Yeah,
It's not a dummy. It's not like a doll. It looks like someone's really doing it, and he's
yeah,
fallen
and you
for a
can tell
while.
because they cut before it hits the ground. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah,
but it cuts before it hits the ground. You have Rachel Ward and Bert playing with like the kids
yeah.
at the school next door. Credits.
Well, the credits zoom out. It's another aerial shot. It zooms out from that, and you're seeing.
And it goes back to the hotel and the plywood in the window from where he fell out.
Does it really?
Yeah.
It goes that far back?
It goes to the hotel and you see like the window, like it goes up into the hotel.
Oh my god, I didn't watch it all the way to the end. That's
Oh
shame
yes,
on me.
and I'm pretty sure. Like, I mean, at this point, I've been imbibing quite a bit of substances, but I'm fairly certain that's what happened.
That's
And I saw
amazing.
like the plywood from the window he fell from.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's very abrupt. I
Which
mean,
hell of a way to end the movie.
hell
Like,
of a way to end the movie. I mean, it's almost like an American Werewolf in London, which we're going to cover in this series. This is also 1981er. That movie has an incredibly abrupt ending, more abrupt than
yes.
this. I think French Connection 2 might have the most abrupt ending in movie history. That's obviously, we
Mhm.
can debate that all night long. But yeah, so let's talk to kind of wrap things out here. Normally in this part of the show, we talk about categorically denied. This is where the part of the show this is the part of the show where we normally decide what Oscars a movie should keep. Here we can give the gift of giving. What categories would you nominate Sharky's Machine for? Any category. You don't have to decide if it's winning, but what categories would you nominate this movie in? Because I got no nominations.
Right. Cinematography,
I agree.
Bernie Casey supporting.
Yeah, I like that. I agree too. Editing for
Um,
me, I think editing
Editing, yeah.
for the
Well,
most
yes
part.
and no, because I feel like a lot of the thing is, like you were saying, like you don't know where it's going to come, and each time it becomes a different movie. Like it's a little jarring sometimes. The pacing is just a little off sometimes, but there's
Okay.
also, but I could allow it.
Um,
Music,
yeah, I think the score is really interesting. I mean, again,
yeah.
this is the year of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Body Heat, and Thief, so it's not winning. But I do think it's an interesting sound.
Oh
The sound of this
yeah.
movie is not like anything I've heard before. I mean, some of the music's like
Well, I
really,
love that it's not Thief, and like Thief is its own thing, and it's
yeah,
like this could have been like Thief,
yeah.
which I would never begrudge a film for. Like, hey, you're trying to, it's fine.
But it's at the same
We need more
time,
movies.
it's a contemporary, so I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess cinematography, maybe Bernie Casey.
I'd nominate Burt for Best Director Golden Globe.
I like that. Yeah. He
Yeah.
might have very well been, I didn't check Golden Globes. Maybe he was nominated for a Golden Globe. Yeah, I think to kind of close things out here, it's like this is curious because this is a movie that I think is really fascinating and unassuming, and this was a hit. It's not like this thing that
Yeah.
like bombed and you have to be like, so
Yeah. And it's not like a huge ego fest. It's not like
no.
Burt being like, hey, King of the World. Check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
No.
I also think to be a little bit reductive, I think he looks great in this movie. Like, I think it's a
Yeah.
good hair piece, like a Caesar cut. I think he looks kind of like dashing. It's not like the dead cat on his head that we'd
Yeah.
see even in the same year. Like, I feel like this is like, you know, like he's very commanding in this movie. I think there's some vulnerability. I agree. The one scene where he's like super raw and emotional doesn't quite. Maybe there was a scene missing. Maybe there was something in between that like
Yeah.
preempted that scene a little better. I don't know. Maybe she was fucking with him more. I don't know. Well, we only can talk about the movie that we have. But
Yeah.
yeah, I this is I think one of his most effective performances. I'd say this, Deliverance, Boogie Nights, obviously. I mean, obviously with Boogie Nights, he's in the hands of a really good director and he's a small
Yeah.
piece
Yeah.
of a not a small piece, but um and yeah, it's kind of just a shame that like, you know, nothing came of Boogie Nights, you know, possibly because of how he behaved during that whole
Yeah.
award season. But I mean, it seems like Robert Forster kind of like stole the late career that Burt Reynolds would have had, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but anyway, I think this movie is really, really terrific. And even the things about it that don't quite work are just fantastic, you know?
Yeah, it's still worth checking out. Like, especially, well, I mean, I went ahead and ruined it, but not knowing that ninja attack happened, you're like, all right.
Yeah, it's
Every now and then, like it was just like, all right, it's sort of like this weird Hitchcockian Dirty Harry twist, but then like Canon Films comes in, you're like, sorry,
yeah.
except not sorry, and you're like, yes, thank you.
And this is a major
That's what this movie needed, though.
yeah.
Like, it needed a little more sleaze, to be
You
honest.
think?
Well,
Maybe
actually, I'm glad it doesn't have it because then it becomes Kinja.
right. I think
Like
that's
it's really chaste, especially for a movie about a Vice Squad dude with and hookers.
yeah. I don't think it needed to be more sleazy. I think that's what's so
Which makes me
unassuming.
sound terrible. It's like I want more nudity. No,
Yeah, it's not salacious, but I think that's almost sensitive, given that the fact that the main the leading lady,
giving the subject, yeah.
yeah, because there's a scene where Victor's basically bragging about how, you know, he
Yeah,
found her when she was 12 years old. And again, it's not it's played for what it's supposed to be. It's played as like fucking horrible. And I
yeah,
think that's a
yeah,
scene where Reynolds he doesn't say a word for most of that scene, and you just see on his face. It's like some great reacting from him.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we haven't really talked about Vittorio Gassman, who's the villain, who's just loathsome in the best possible way. I mean, he is just
yeah.
you know,
And we can even talk about Nosh and that dude and how he just yells everything. Does he have Tourette's?
yeah,
Did
I
I just
don't,
miss that part?
yeah, Richard Libertini, I think his name was, who's the Chevy Chase's boss in Fletch and in a million
Yes.
things.
Which took me forever to realize. I'm like, where am I getting this guy
Yeah,
from?
it's only 4 years later. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
this whole cast is really great, and I think again, I have to commend Burt Reynolds on like not it's not all about him and
yeah,
him at least 2 or 3 times just tossing the keys to this movie to Bernie Casey, which I think was
yeah.
very, very cool. and not egotistical at all. So
Yeah, I really appreciate this one. I thought this was a fun find, a good time.
cool. I'm glad.
Strong recommend.
Yeah, I like it too. So that's our show. Next episode, Allie Baylis and I cover another 1981er, An American Werewolf in London. Till then, looking forward to looking back.